Good morning, everyone. When you think of grabbing a beer, you think of a ball game, a barbecue, or maybe a night out with friends. Well, now some are using beer to rehydrate after working out. Experts say before downing a cold one, though, there are some things you need to know. The Morning Medical Update starts right now. Good morning, everyone. Glad you're with us. It is Thursday, May 5th. Thank you so much for being here on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. Coming up later, May marks All Kids Healthy Month. A recent poll reveals the one universal concern for parents. We'll tell you what it is and how to help. In about 15, Dr. Dana Hawkinson joins us with the COVID count and some COVID headlines. But first, cracking open a cold one after working out. Is this really a thing? The benefits and the downside. So get your questions sent in to us on YouTube, Facebook, or email us at the Medical News Network. You can find links to those right there on your screen. So we know beer may taste refreshing, but it isn't an ideal sports beverage, as you may know, although drinking beer after a workout may offer a few benefits. It can also slow down the number of things in your body, including muscle repair after a hard workout or training. The average beer has more than 100 calories in it, which is the equivalent of eating something like a chocolate chip cookie. So joining me now this morning to talk more about our liver health in general is Dr. Ryan Taylor, Medical Director of Liver Transplantation. And you might recognize this man. He is former NFL star and now Strength and Athletic Development Supervisor over at the Sports Medicine and Performance Center in Overland Park. Roger Allen is joining us this morning. Good morning, guys. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much.
Doing great.
Good to see you. Okay, Dr. Taylor, let's just start with you. Any possible good benefits? You are our liver doctor, our expert. I kind of already know where you're going with this, but let's try to be a little unbiased.
So it's a little bit of a stretch here, but being honest, looking at this for a simple benefit perspective, obviously one of the main ingredient in beer is water. So any hydration solution is going to need to contain water, and there are carbohydrates and a small amount of salt. So looking at that just from a positive perspective, those would be some of the benefits there.
Okay, so with the good comes the bad. So let's talk about the downsides.
So a lot of downsides here. So first and foremost, the amount of alcohol concentration that you take can actually at the higher levels be detrimental and actually lose fluid. So then you're going to dehydrate yourself faster. Also, alcohol can inhibit and limit protein recovery, and so you can have a longer recovery following your workout. And then at the end of the day, alcohol can cause weight gain and fat buildup, and obviously your point of exercising at the end of the day is to help reduce those things. So you're kind of working against yourself, in my opinion.
Well, it's kind of a quick fix, because I can think of probably nothing more refreshing than maybe a cold beer. But I don't know, after a workout, you're probably setting things into reverse. So talk to us a little bit about how alcohol is absorbed into the body. How is it processed?
Absolutely. So alcohol is absorbed through your GI tract, primarily in a part of your small intestine called the duodenum. And after alcohol gets into your system, it goes to the liver. And there's an enzyme there called alcohol dehydrogenase. And that then breaks down alcohol into other chemicals, which then affect pretty much any area of the body. This enzyme is also present in the wall of the stomachs as well, and so may help explain why we may see some of the gender differences in alcohol metabolism.
Okay, so a recent survey found that collegiate level athletes are more likely to drink a beer after working out. No surprise, right?
No.
Shocker, shocker. Work out, guys, and then go have a beer with your buddies, right? So let's bring in Roger Allen. Roger, good morning. Is this a thing? What's the word on the street or in the gym, I guess?
So actually, it is a thing in the sense that when people are doing long distance runs or triathlons, long races where they're strenuously stressing their body for about 30 minutes to an hour or more, it's actually common and actually a tradition after a competition to drink a beer. Seriously, as soon as they pass the line, if you see a marathon, they'll usually hand them a water along with the beer, towel, and hopefully their medal. And that's just like the doctor said, that's because beer contains carbohydrates. And after a long strenuous bout of running, your body needs some carbohydrates right away. So it's one of the fastest way to get some carbohydrates in you in a quick manner. But after every workout, no, I wouldn't do that. Unless you're running a marathon every day, it's not a good idea.
I was going to say, you got to be working out pretty darn hard. And I don't think Dr. Taylor and I are really working out hard enough to deserve a beer. Do you think?
No.
Maybe you are, Roger. But so again, and you, Dr. Taylor, you said there's some sodium to it, the carbohydrates, and again, it's quick, so you're not having to sit down and gobble up a bunch of food. It gets into your body quickly. But what would you say then? What's the best for all of us kind of slackers out there? What's the best way to refuel then, Roger, after a workout? I think I know your answer, but what is it?
So usually it's going to be a sports beverage with very little sugar in it. I like to use the G2s or any of those carbohydrated refueling sports drinks. Something I would go with, or just water. Water is going to be a great thing to replace that lack of sodium and water in your bloodstream.
Well, that's a good reminder. A lot of us need that reminder to drink water throughout the day in general. Okay, so Roger, we'll get back to you here in just a few moments. Dr. Taylor, though, a recent study found that isohumalones, did I say that right?
Yes.
Isohumalones, that's the main compound responsible for that bitter taste that we taste in hops that might support weight loss. Do you know anything about that? Is that still a good enough reason to grab a cold one after a workout?
I still think it's a little bit of a stretch,
Okay.
but absolutely there's some scientific interest in isohumalones. Some studies have shown that it can help with diabetes type effects with lowering blood glucose levels as well as fat levels. So there's some potential benefits there, as well as may change your taste sensation because of the bitter taste. And so that also could potentially stimulate reduction in appetite.
All right. Okay, so Roger, studies show that beer can help with body building and training. Is this true?
This is a new study to me, so I'm not going to say no, but I would say that that's something that's not widely practiced right now. Best thing to help with bodybuilding, obviously, is going to be protein, especially since when you break down your muscles, that's the main macronutrient your body needs to rebuild that broken down muscle. So drinking a protein shake or eating a lean protein breakfast, lunch, or dinner after a workout is going to be far more beneficial than drinking alcohol. So does everything have some benefits? I'm sure everything has some benefits, but are there better choices? Absolutely.
Really well said. Today's Cinco de Mayo, so I think everyone's kind of got their beer drinking hat, so to speak, or maybe not, maybe literally has their beer drinking hat on. So let's talk about the psychological science behind this. So actually research at the Journal of Psychological Science found that moderate drinking can actually make you more consistent with your workouts, Roger, because it might increase the bonding with friends, or make it kind of more of a social thing. So there's maybe one of those benefits. It keeps you doing it, but help us find the balance. What are your thoughts on that?
In that situation, I could actually stand behind it, because one of the hardest things for most people to do is work out consistently. So whereas hanging out with your friends, having a good time is something you're more willing to do consistently. So if you know you're going to have a good time with your friends after a workout, then obviously you're going to be more likely to work out. So in that bonding situation, I'll drink everything in moderation. Say all those cliches, but the cliches because they're true. Okay, so everything in moderation is okay, all right? But obviously, if you want to get the most gains from your workout, if you're working out to change your body, to change your physique, you want to be optimal. So obviously, even when you're hanging out with your friends, it'd be better to drink water or drink a sports drink versus putting alcohol in your body.
Not overdoing it. I know this sounds very obvious, but it's just nice to hear it coming from our two experts here today. So that's really nice. We have some community questions that are coming in, but what about, Dr. Taylor, other alcoholic beverages? I'm going to guess you're going to say absolutely not, under no circumstances. Am I right?
At the end of the day, it's alcohol. So no matter how your delivery method, whether it's beer, whether it's wine, or whether it's spirits, it's all alcohol at the end of the day. It's just that the concentrations differ, so that's why it can affect the amount of alcohol you're actually getting.
Well, and you just don't think about it. You're right. Beer has a lot of water in it, so that might tend to be the go-to and the more refreshing one. So if there was a little bit of benefit there, that might be where you'd lean. But yes, okay. Makes sense. Okay, so let's get to some COVID talk. Dr. Dana Hawkinson, Medical Director of Infection Prevention and Control, joining us this morning with our COVID count. How are you today?
Hi, we're doing good.
Good.
Right now we have 4 active infections, 1 in the ICU, 0 on the ventilator, 9 in that recovery period. And looking through those 4 patients, significant comorbidities, and 2 of them have possible alternative diagnoses as well. But again, with their significant comorbidities, obviously a positive test could push some of those comorbidities to that point where they need to be hospitalized. But overall, I think, yes, right now the active case numbers in the hospital and the health system are very good right now.
Couple questions for you. Are we still on track? FDA set June meetings on COVID vaccines for the youngest kids. June was kind of that sweet spot. We were hoping that's going to happen. Are we still on time for that, you think?
I think that is still the timeline, maybe that first week of June, yeah, and I think that will be important, especially moving into the next school year. But as far as I'm aware, that is the timeline.
Okay, and then something concerning. Fewer than 1 in 5 parents say that they'll get the COVID-19 vaccine for their kids under 5 as soon as they can. Doesn't mean they won't eventually, but there's this thing that we think once it's available, everyone's going to run out and get it, and that's simply not the case. What are your thoughts on that?
It is pretty scary. I think we have to understand that although severe illness in children is not as common as in older age groups and adults. If that child is yours or a loved one of yours, then that is it's not just a number, it's a person. The thing is, we know children can get long COVID, they can get multi-system inflammatory disorder. We certainly know that for adults, vaccination seems to reduce your risk of long COVID by about 50%. So I think getting the vaccine, it's protection against that acute severe illness. Even if it's a low percentage of children who get severe illness from COVID, but it also helps protect against those other things that can come after that acute infection as well.
I want to ask you about the variants. What's the latest Omicron subvariants mean for people and risk of reinfection?
Yeah. I think reinfection certainly can happen. We have seen this. There's been 2 good papers now looking at Omicron versus others and looking at BA2 versus Omicron and others, and those people that were infected just with those viruses did not create any other antibodies, but if you had been vaccinated and infected, you did have other neutralizing antibodies. So I think the question of reinfection is, yes, it can happen. You can still be reinfected, but these vaccines were really meant to help protect you against hospitalization, severe disease, and death. And what we have shown so far throughout all of the variants, and I believe this will be true, this will be my hypothesis, obviously we'll have to wait to see what happens, but I believe right now the same thing would be true with any other variants that we've identified so far, and the fact that if you are vaccinated and up to date with your boosters, you are going to be very well protected against hospitalization, severe disease, and death, and that is really what we are looking at from these vaccines, and so far it looks to hold true even with the other variants that we've identified.
All right, thanks for those updates this morning. If you're just joining us, we're talking about the liver. Also the pros and cons of drinking beer after a workout. Here with me and on the set is Dr. Ryan Taylor, Medical Director of Liver Transplantation and Medical Director of Hepatology here at the health system. Also joining us virtually is Strength and Athletic Development Supervisor at the Sports Medicine and Performance Center out in Overland Park, Roger Allen. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. Okay, we'll get with you here in just a few moments. Dr. Taylor, let's just talk about a couple things. As far as COVID goes, drinking became almost like a pastime. We mentioned people having nothing better to do. We talked about liquor stores being an essential business to be open. People were up in arms about that. Churches and schools closed, but liquor stores are free for all. So talk to us about that and how that created more problems for you.
It was really really a multi-layer problem because we were more isolated. A lot of people were very stressed and anxious about what was happening with their family members, with their jobs, with their careers. So stress levels were increased. A lot of activities had changed. So people's normal routines of getting their activity and exercise also changed. So it was a perfect storm of more screens and less healthy lifestyle overall. And then you add alcohol to the mix, really created some problems.
It really did. I think we allowed ourselves, we kind of put our guard down and just like kind of anything went. We kind of excused ourselves to, kind of numb the pain of the pandemic and get through day to day. Talk about the health benefits, though, if people missed it. Some of the slight benefits of drinking a beer after a workout, if you were going to drink anything at all. But any thoughts that this might improve your heart health?
So there's some data, there is a lot of interest in the heart benefits of alcohol, so that's how a lot of people, I think, justify some of their alcohol use. And so I think, again, it all comes down to how you interpret the data and how you look at it.
They're reading the fine print,
They're
Dr.
reading
Taylor,
the fine
you
print.
know that.
But at the end of the day, the actual great data that we call with long-term randomized control trial, which is the most robust and most vigorous data that we like to see as physicians, unfortunately is lacking for benefits of alcohol, even with cardiovascular disease. So we need better studies, more long-term data to really see some of these benefits, because just like anything, there's going to be pluses and there's going to be minuses.
I want to ask you about supplements. That's something that people take pre-workout, after workout. Many of us just take a daily multivitamin or a whole, fistful of them. So talk to us about those effects on our liver.
Absolutely. So supplements are something that we see a lot of people come in with liver problems from. There's a lot of different concerns there. As you may know, supplements are not as tightly regulated by the FDA, and so quality control of actually what goes into the supplements and what the quality of those ingredients are can be highly variable even within the same bottle of tablets. And there's a lot of things that go into those supplements that haven't been studied rigorously, so you always kind of wonder what the effects are going to be on someone who's healthy, much less someone who may have background liver disease or other health problems. So unfortunately, I get to see a lot of the negative effects of supplements. People come in with liver failure, liver dysfunction, and then we have to try to work through that and help them through that process.
Roger, I want to ask you, you probably get a lot of questions about supplements. What do you tell people?
Like you said, supplements are great. You just got to make sure that it's been FDA approved and that it's something that's widely used and used quite often for most people. But multivitamin is great. It's going to give your body the vitamins and nutrients that you don't get out of our normal meals. You don't go around picking berries and eating berries like we should. Okay, so if you know you don't eat enough greenery or berries, then obviously adding a multivitamin to your diet would be very beneficial.
Well, you just brought up something, Roger, about FDA approved. I mean, there are thousands of different options. You just go to a grocery store, let alone a supplement store, and you could just go down an entire aisle full of them. So how do you know? Is there anything on a bottle you should be looking for that would just know that this was higher quality, something you should stay away from?
Yeah, usually if you look at the bottle and the ingredients, being FDA approved is a badge of honor for most supplement providers. So they're going to put it right there on the bottle. And so that's something you're going to be looking for, because it just tells us that it's been tested and that all the ingredients are going to be more consistent than anybody else that can put anything out on the market.
All right, Roger. While I have you here, we've got to know. We want to know well, first of all, Dr. Taylor was not happy that he said you put me on today with one of the best fit guys out there. So we've got to steal some of your ideas. Tell us what are some of your best diet and exercise tips so that we can stay in shape, because summer right around the corner.
Whatever you can do consistently is the best tip I can give you. There's a lot of people that like to go in all or nothing, and I'm actually one of those people. If I can't get a full hour to 90 minutes of working out, I don't even want to work out. But it's actually more beneficial to burn a little bit consistently over time, and that's going to be the best way to actually see changes in your body. So working out moderately for 5 days a week is better than working out at super high intensity only once or twice a week. Okay, so you want to give your body that constant caloric deficit. That's going to help you shave pounds off gradually, more consistently. So find something you enjoy doing, find something that makes you get up, find something that you have fun and you feel good with afterwards, especially with that endorphin release. And you're going to want to continue to do that, especially if you do it in the morning. It's actually better for you to work out in the morning than it is at night, just because your body goes into EPOC and you start to burn calories at a higher rate throughout the rest of the day. So as you go into your work day, you'll feel more energized, and your body will ultimately burn more calories by the time you put your head on the pillow at night than it would have if you would have just worked out at 6 or 7 at night. Now, if that's the only time you got to work out, do what you got to do, okay? But if you have the choice, get up in the morning, get your 30 minutes to an hour in, and then you'll feel so much better, and you'll look better in a few months.
Well, and I like that. I like your advice, because it's not, exercise and plans aren't one size fits all. So it seems what you're offering and your tips are realistic and what works for you. And a little is something, and it matters. So, Dr. Taylor, it's like when Harry met Sally. I'll have what he's having.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Roger, do you eat anything specific? What is like the one, okay, first of all, what's like your guilty pleasure food, but what's something that you make sure you eat every single day?
Oh. You said my go-to food that I should or should not eat.
Well, both. I want to know what your guilty pleasure is, and then I want to know,
Okay.
and then I want to know what you must have every day to stay looking good.
All right, so my guilty pleasure is cookies. You know, I'm a cookie monster. I literally have cookie dough just in my cabinets, but I make it cookie dough because at least I have to put some effort into it in order to make it. Like, I can't just have pre-made cookies because it's going down automatically.
There you
So if I'm gonna have sugar in my house, like I have to warm up my oven, then I have to wait 10 minutes for it to cook. So it has to be premeditated. I give myself some steps. Now, some great things to have is, once again, anything with protein, especially if you're trying to build muscle, is going to be a great thing to do. So if you add peanut butter to a healthy thing like celery or anything like that, it gives you a little bit of sugar, but once again, it has some protein in it. And anything that's going to add more protein to your body or vitamins to your body is going to be a great healthy snack. My favorite, actually, especially when I'm sitting down, a lot of times when you're sitting down on the couch, you just want something to occupy your mouth, occupy your hands. And so a lot of us go to snacks and salty snacks. They're going to put bad carbs in your body and then a lot of sodium that your body doesn't need. Instead, go with frozen grapes. Frozen grapes is actually my favorite because it's a little sweet, gives you a little sugar. Also, it being frozen slows you down. So instead of eating a whole bag of grapes, it being so cold, you only eat a few, but then at the same time, you get that crunch, that satisfying crunch. And it's a great, healthy snack to snack on.
Oh, those are some good tips, Cookie Monster. Thank you. And I love your...
You're welcome.
I like that idea, though, to make cookie dough, so you have to make effort to cook them. That's a really good idea. Slow down the mind. Okay, we're going to get to so hang tight there for just a moment. Just last question before we get to community questions, Dr. Taylor. Just in general, what do we need to be thinking about? I don't want you to be my chronic doctor for the rest of my life. I'd like to be your friend, but I don't want you to be my doctor. So how do I start thinking about my liver and caring for it properly so it lasts me a lifetime?
Absolutely. Your liver is actually one of the most resilient organs in the body, so it takes a lot to really beat it up and to cause long-term disease. But the liver, you have to remember, is your basic organ of metabolism. So nutrition and how you use energy within the body is going to be a key way of keeping your liver healthy. So looking what you eat, how much you eat, and then coupling with some exercise is a good way to start liver health. And then, of course, the topic of today, moderation of alcohol. Obviously, alcohol can damage your liver as well.
Makes sense. Isaac has a question today. I've heard that food helps mitigate the effects of alcohol. How does that work? We always say don't drink on an empty stomach, Dr. Taylor. Does that help? Does it matter? Or does it just really just slow the absorption rate?
So this comes back to the comment I was making a little bit earlier about having that alcohol processing enzyme within the wall of the stomach. And so when you have an empty stomach, you have a large surface area for alcohol to be absorbed and hit your bloodstream faster. So when you have other foods in there, it's going to reduce the amount of absorption and slow that down. So you're going to have less of a rush into your system.
Do we have any reporter questions on the line today? Just want to double check. Okay. Then we are going to go to Sean's question. Just what's the latest word, Dr. Taylor? I mean, it just seems like we've heard about that daily glass of wine being heart healthy or it's okay. Just having that beer or glass of wine, any word on the still having those health benefits?
So there is data that we can see some cardiovascular benefits from alcohol. You have to realize in my practice, most of my job is taking care of people who've had problems from alcohol, so I'm probably not the best advocate for this, but in a healthy patient, a moderate amount of alcohol can have some potential cardiovascular benefits.
I'm not taking you down that rabbit hole. I know that. So I do want to talk, though, about how COVID did affect your patients, because that wouldn't be something, these are essential appointments that people must make, and we don't want people keeping screenings away or at bay. So how did it affect them, and how are you playing catch up?
So there's some good things and some bad things that came out of COVID that we learned with our patient population. So one of the good things I will say was the introduction of telehealth. And this really helped open access for a lot of our sick patients throughout the state and in the region that sometimes had trouble to come see us. And so it was a way for us to connect with our patients. And in fact, we're as busy as ever with access because of people having this new modality to reach us. So that has been one of the benefits. But the downsides are the two of the most common liver diseases that we face, both alcohol damage to the liver as well as fatty liver, which is related to the metabolism issues we've talked about, have really been skyrocketing. And so the pandemic effects of being isolated, not taking self-care and self-help that we would like to see has really made some of those problems worse.
Is liver issues, are those genetic?
There certainly can be some genetic problems with the liver. So it's both your environment, your diet, your nutrition, but also genetics.
What about screenings? Are there liver screenings, and when would you know to get one or need one?
So the good news is there's some very basic blood tests that are drawn as anytime you get kind of routine blood work with your primary care physician or an insurance physical, commonly known as liver function test, and that can give us an idea of inflammation going on in your liver. And then also you can get ultrasounds, which can check for fatty liver. That sometimes shows up in that way as well.
Dr. Hawkinson, Joella wants to know, it's Mother's Day, graduations, lots of people wanting to get together. Yep. Is that safe at all if you're not vaccinated, or is it safe if you are vaccinated and boosted? I know it's all risk, it's risk factors, but what are your thoughts? You're mixing and mingling with people you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. We know it's been happening. Again, I think if you can continue to do those things that we know protect you, if you can mask, if you feel concerned about that, you're always welcome to mask. That's always an option. Try to do those things outdoors or in well-ventilated spots as well. Distancing. Obviously, the most important thing is being vaccinated, up to date with your vaccination, and just understand the risk that you have. And by that, you can go and do those things safely. Again, if you develop symptoms, it is very important to test as soon as you get symptoms. That way you can also get a prescription for Paxlovid, that outpatient antiviral therapy as well.
So relatively safe if everyone is vaxxed and boosted. And guess what? People can still wear masks, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Brandon wants to know, how long after a positive test do you have to wait to get your second booster? We keep getting that question a lot. Can you answer it?
Yeah, I mean, there's no good guidance. The CDC says you can wait 3 months after an infection to get your booster dose if you want. Certainly doing that, 8 weeks to 12 weeks, so 2 to 3 months is reasonable as well. We know there is information and data to support the fact that if you are getting a vaccine dose, now again, this isn't specifically with boosters, but if you are getting a vaccine dose after infection, you do have a reduced risk of long COVID as well within 12 weeks. So I think that's important to note. Again, no good guidance. The CDC would say 3 months. I think any time in that 2 to 3 month period after that infection is a reasonable time to go get a booster dose if you are in that category that needs a booster.
All right, let's get to our final thoughts today. Great panel, great topic. Dr. Taylor, I'll let you get us started.
Well, thank you very much. One thing I did want to mention, since we're talking about liver and exercise today, and we briefly touched about supplements, we have to be careful with use of testosterone. And so for some of our patients and people who are working out aggressively and potentially supplementing with testosterone, we have to remember that can be very hard on your liver. And we've seen a number of very young, healthy individuals come in with liver cancer because of their testosterone use.
Really? I bet you a lot of people don't know that.
Yes.
Good reminder. And thank you for being on.
Thank you very much.
I haven't seen you in a while, so it's nice to have you sit here with me.
You're welcome. Thank you so
Good.
much.
Well, actually, you're going to be back next week, I think.
I am, the week following.
Okay, great. We'll welcome you back. All right, Roger, thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for your tips and your insight. Just final thoughts for our viewers today.
Once again, get out, stay active, do anything you enjoy doing often, and something is better than nothing. So 30 minutes to an hour of exercise is going to help you stay in shape and eventually get to your goals. Obviously, the more aggressive you work out, the faster you're going to see results. But if you only do it sporadically, you're not going to see any results. So do something you can do consistently. And then wine is better than beer, and only stick to one glass.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, on this Cinco de Mayo. Dr. Hawkinson, what's your drink of choice, beverage of choice after your big workouts?
Water.
Water.
Yeah.
Beer comes later.
I do need to drink more water. Of course, in the morning, my drink of choice is coffee.
I know. We need it.
But I think this is a great topic. It's important to be healthy in body, mind, and spirit. Obviously, we tend to focus on the body and talking about infection prevention and just overall good health. But all of those things, and they all are interconnected. And so doing that activity, getting out, especially being outdoors if you can, will help all of those things as well. It's just about leading a healthy lifestyle, just as we heard our guests talk about.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Well, a new poll finds that kids who are picky eaters is a universal challenge for parents. May marks Every Kid Healthy Week. Pediatrician Dr. Steve Lauer weighs in and says to ask yourself this one question.
The first question is, who's bothered? So if If somebody calls and says, my kid isn't eating anything and he's laying around, he's not active, I can't get him to do anything, that's a problem. Most of the time the answer is, I can't get him to eat what I want him to, and he's running around and she's out playing with her friends and they're doing all their normal stuff. So the first one is for parents, hopefully, to step back a little bit and go, their child is not going to starve themselves. And one of our biggest problems in this country is people eating when they're not hungry. And if your child is suffering because of their eating habits, which in our country is much more that they're eating too much than they're eating too little, that's a problem. As you're starting to think about feeding food to your 6, 7, 8-month-old, what do you want them eating when they're 20, when they're making their own decisions about it? It isn't the question, did they eat a certain mass of food today? Did they eat good, healthy food? The choices, hopefully, aren't between, do you want vegetables or macaroni and cheese? And if you start in early enough and aren't trying to change habits, it can be done. But it's right from the beginning and not trying to then backtrack. We don't want to get kids used to, you just eat because it's noon and therefore you will eat. If they're not hungry, it's more the approach of good, healthy food in front of them on regular schedules. They decide what's going into them at that point, and then if not, okay. But it's the good, healthy food choices in front of them, and if they don't eat that, well, now you get a brownie. No, that also sets up those harmful eating habits down the line that are influencing the obesity epidemic, diabetes, all the problems that we're seeing with overweight in our country.
Coming up at 10 on All Things Heart, you'll meet a man who got a blister on his foot. What he didn't know is that blister would nearly cost him his leg. We want to warn you, in this video, there are some images that are considered graphic. Alexis Del Cid has the story.
I'm a pretty much joker.
Richard Pywell is the kind of guy who can keep a sense of humor about pretty much anything, even this.
I don't have toes to push down with, so I got to be careful when I'm climbing a ladder that I don't try to step on the ball of my foot.
While being shuttled around to follow up doctor's appointments by his devoted wife Carol is not exactly his idea of a good time, or hers for that matter, after 60 years, they know how to take care of each other. They're a good team, and this is just part of the package.
We bicker, but we love each other. We have fun. He tries to get me riled up.
How's it going, guys?
They also know how much worse it could have been for Richard.
Well, from where we started, I don't know if you remember, they were planning on cutting your whole leg off right there just below the knee.
It all started when Richard, a longtime diabetic, got a blister on his foot while clearing some brush. The blister got infected and continued to get worse to the point where doctors told him they needed to amputate his leg below the knee.
Limb salvage is one of my areas of interest. I'm pretty passionate about it.
That's when Dr. Adam Alley, a vascular and interventional radiologist, was brought into the case to work his magic.
The way we like to say it is saving limbs is saving lives. Diabetic population, people with diabetes, you can get what we call small vessel arterial disease. You can get blockages in your blood vessels just like in your heart, so you can get a heart attack.
It was a procedure that Dr. Alley knew about, but had never performed before.
So they called me to see if he'd be a candidate. He was the first one that I had performed.
What do you think?
It's rather incredible.
It would turn out his first one was a home run.
It worked out better than our wildest dreams, so that's great.
It has. Like I said, I'm very fortunate, I guess. The good Lord has not decided to take me out. So.
Or his leg.
Thanks.
So just how is Richard doing today, and how do limb amputations affect the heart? We will break that all down for you coming up at 10 o'clock on All Things Heart. A live look now in Cancun, Mexico. Of course, it is Cinco de Mayo. Oh, doesn't that look lovely? Oh my goodness. Okay, I could just stare and drift into that all day. But here in Kansas City, several parades and Mexican festivals happening, and of course, great food and drink specials at your favorite spots. So get out there, enjoy it, have fun, but of course, be safe. Don't overdo it with the drinks. And the Guadalupe Center is also hosting a 2-day family-friendly event starting tomorrow. All right, everyone, thanks so much for being with us today. And don't forget, you can catch our shows anytime by logging on to Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. Everyone, have a great Thursday. We'll see you on Friday. Coming up tomorrow on the Morning Medical Update. They're often referred to as the backbone to patient care. I'm Jessica Lovell. On Friday, we kick off Nurses Week. why they do what they do, and how they banded together during COVID. See you at 8 on these social media channels.
Subscribe to our morning medical update and open mics with Dr. Stites podcasts. Now, everywhere podcasts are available.